Hi guys, thank you for having me. Everyone good? Should we do one of those? Whoa! No, okay, no. I reserve that for Genji. So, my name is Rory Shepherd. I'm the head of operations and creativity for Bonamy Group, which consists of Little Red Door, which is what I'm going to talk mainly about today, Lulu White Drinking Club, and Bonamy, which is a restaurant and bar. So, Little Red Door, it's located in the Marais in Paris, which is kind of a creative arts area. It's not we have a little problem here. Anyway, so yeah, it's in the creative kind of hub of Paris, which is kind of full of lots of fashionistas and everything like this. And away from the hustle and bustle of there we go. Away from the hustle and bustle of the Parisian streets, you have a little red door, and when you go through the little red door, you're taken into another world. So, what are our interests and aims? Well, our interests are culture, philosophy, arts, music, dancing, having fun. Anyway, that's our personal ones. Then you have a strong focus on the arts. Our aims are playfully pushing one's drinking experience. And this is kind of making sure you're always looking at how we're drinking, how we're creating experience for our guests. We want to make sure that every time someone comes in, one, they remember us, and two, that they're not just coming in, having a drink and leaving, they're really getting something out of it. And whether that's through service or the offering or drinks, or it's a big focus on what we do. So, I'm going to talk to you about our menus, which is probably the kind of focus of what this talk is about, as well as our bar. We create conceptual menus, and we create this because it's important to create this experience and to make sure that people understand that when they come to our bar, they just are going to take a little bit more than just a drink away from it. So the first conceptual menu we did 3 years ago, this is called the evocative menu. With the evocative menu, we asked ourselves a question. What is the best way to convey flavor? Are words really the best way to convey flavor? If you just write the spirits and what's in it, is that really the kind of whole structure of what we do? Do they limit us? Do the words limit us? Do the ingredients, what's written, limit us? Or is there another way of showing how to pass over flavor? And also this kind of nice thing about bias. I used to be very guilty before this menu of going into a bar, seeing an ingredient I liked, or seeing that something was stirred and served up in a coupette and was very boozy and things like this. In the same way that someone might come in and want vodka and fruity, I would never have a vodka and fruity because I would see vodka and I would see fruity and I would be like, well, that's not my bag. So by doing a menu with no words, that takes away this. And this made me go to bars and go in and choose a drink differently. Maybe I will have the vodka fruity one because actually it could be very, very interesting. And maybe I will learn more that way. And could imagery be more of a universal way to convey flavor? So here's an example of, this was called Number 7. No names for any of the drinks on this menu. So Number 7 the image is this. So the artist would come in and they would blind taste a cocktail. And then they would try to do a piece of art based on this cocktail, try and convey things within the drink that they are tasting and seeing within the cocktail. And you can see how they relate to each other in terms of imagery. And then if we look at the ingredients here, so these ingredients are very interesting. This is one of the most popular drinks on this menu. It was very light, it was very easy drinking, but it had this kind of lovely aromas and it had a kind of smoky grassiness to it. Really, it was, everyone loved it. No one would send it back. But we believe if we had shown the ingredients and not the image, then okay, people may be interested by the cherry blossom, but really the rest of it is fairly unknown to people. LRD Silent Grain is a collaboration we did with Distillerie de Paris. It is basically whiskey products made in a gin method. So we used two different types of grain. We distilled them like you would with a gin, and then we aged them. And we tried them through different ages. It was very, very nice. El Jolgorio is a mezcal. Not everybody knows about mezcal, so they might kind of be thrown off by that. Oh, I don't know what that is. Maybe I won't like it. I don't want to embarrass myself in front of my friends and not enjoy the drink I'm having, not know what something is. Dolan Bitter is kind of a little bit of a lighter, bitter aperitif. Bitter throws people off. Some people don't like bitter, but bitter can be used in a whole number of ways. We have a drink downstairs that is bitter, sweet, acidic, fresh. So it kind of hits every bit of the palate that you want, excuse me. Cherry blossom, floral. And then Verjus is the juice of unripened grapes. They make it in cognac houses in France. Anyway, so you kind of get the idea. What would happen on the menus is you would pull out a little slide, and you could see the ingredients. So just next to the image, pull out a little slide, and then you could, if you want, see the image. Because we don't want to, with the ingredients, because we don't want to push it on anybody. We want to make sure that people are still enjoying themselves. They're not forced to have a conceptual drink. Okay, so on to the next one. This is the menu of applied architecture. The question we ask for this is, are we limited by the extent of our knowledge? We commonly introduce this menu as a menu about architecture, but actually it was a little bit more in depth than that. We wanted to learn about something we didn't really know much about. We're in Paris. Some of you may have been there. Everything is beautiful in Paris. And so we thought, okay, well, we're surrounded by this amazing architecture. Why don't we learn about the architecture that we're seeing everywhere? Why don't we use the knowledge we do? By honing in and limiting ourselves, we can create something better and we can learn something. So we all allocated, I'll go back. We were all allocated certain movements of architecture, such as brutalism. And then we'd have to learn about more than just what it looked like, the theory behind it, the idea behind the movement. And we had to use that as our inspiration for the cocktail, as our kind of motive. And it was super interesting. We spent about 6 months reading up on all these architectural movements, trying to understand them, trying to go to places around the world where there was beautiful architecture and relevant architecture, and trying to really get to know it so we can make one drink each on a movement. It's very important to point out that each of our menus have always take about, some have taken a year to make, some of them take about 9 months. The current one took us 9 months. This one took us almost a year as well. It's a very long, thought-out process. All that just for a drink, right? Crazy. Okay, so brutalism. Amazing architecture. You have quite a lot of brutalist architecture here. So visually, I think you can match that up, right? That kind of looks like that drink is that building-ish, right? Well, it's a little bit more than that. So I'm going to show you the ingredients on this one. So all the ingredients we like to describe has been mistreated, or they're quite powerful. But they also create contrast. So we oxidize the wine. We run it through, when you have a fish tank, you have the little thing that makes the bubbles. So we run this oxygen through the wine for 24 hours, so it's literally oxidizing the wine. And it gets this kind of tannic taste to it that we all know when you taste that slightly old wine. We roast the citrus. So we oxidize the wine, we roast the citrus. We caramelize it, so we use it as a juice, but we cook it first, and you get this lovely kind of burnt caramel kind of taste. We use smoked salt, grappa, so big flavor. Grappa, already a very big flavor, and then infuse it with smoked salt. Mezcal, the mother of tequila. Smoked tequila, they take it and they bury it underground. It's got this kind of brutalism. And then fried baby's breath. So baby's breath, a lovely, beautiful flower. And we deep fry it. Not because I'm Scottish and like deep fried food, because it's brutalism. So we deep fry it in elderflower. And the reason behind all this, you have these huge flavors, these bold, kind of mistreated flavors. But then you have this contrast of a light floral notes. And this is because it's very, very typical of having beautiful greenery next to this brutalist architecture. And it really creates a very nice contrast, a very interesting contrast, and it makes both of them pop. So that is Brutalism by one of our old bartenders, Sarah. Okay, so next up. So what do we want to do next? We had a big task on our hands. You know, how do we follow up? Every year we have to do something, but not better than the last, but equally as good. And so we really had to analyze ourselves to try and find this out, to try and work out what is the next stage for Little Red Door. We've learned about architecture. We've worked with imagery. Who are we? So we need to work out what do we want to achieve. So this was our massive list of all the things we wanted to achieve. 5 of us came together. There was myself, the bar manager, the two of the owners, and our head chef from our restaurant. Came together every day, pretty much, every week for sure, for about 2 months. And we came up with this list that we tried to trim down, but we just couldn't because we wanted so much from this menu. So I'm going to go through each one of these and kind of explain what it means, and then I'll kind of go into context when you see what the concept is for the next menu. So a menu that everyone could relate to. So why did we want this? Well, at Little Red Door, we don't just have French people in. It's not a French bar per se. We have people from all around the world. It's not like an Irish pub where everyone's English and getting drunk and everything like this. We just happen to have a lot of people coming from around the world. So we decided to look outward from ourselves a little bit. Let's think about the people that are in the room. Ourselves, we're from all around the world as well, which I'll move on to a bit. And so we want this kind of appreciation of who we're serving to, understanding your customer, and not having it stoop to the level of let's do pints of Guinness and shots. That's what a cross-cultural drinks offering is. A drinking experience that inspires conversation. Whoa, that's hard to say after a long weekend. So this was something I came up with in Athens. I wanted people to talk when they opened our menu. I wanted people to come together and laugh or interact with it. People will be taken to a kind of different zone, be forced. You know when you go on a first date, and you're sitting there and the menus arrive and you're not sure whether to make conversation or to look at the menu. And you're kind of doing half of both and it's, yeah, but I want steak, but I have to talk to you. I don't know what's going on. So we wanted to stop that. We wanted to make sure that if people didn't know each other that were walking in the bar, they would be able to chat and converse and interact. So moves me on to interaction. There we go. And takes a new look at popular flavor. So what I mean by this is we wanted to appeal to our masses, appeal to everyone that comes into the bar. Look at popular flavor. Look at flavors that are popular. Understand how you can use them. If something's got strawberry in, it's going to be delicious because it's got strawberry in it, and strawberry's delicious. It's the way it should be. But maybe just use it in a different way. Maybe use strawberry leaves. Maybe char them or something. Understand the ingredients you're using. You don't have to go completely onto weird things that nobody has heard of. And a menu that questions our creative process. So this is really interesting, the final 2. This is really what I'm going to focus on. This menu was the first time. We had always worked as a team for all the menus. Everyone makes all the drinks. But this one, we wanted to really question who we are, where we're from, understand each other. We had a fairly 50-50 new and old team. So we were like, okay, how can we make our team bond, be creative, create drinks that we think are worthy of Little Red Door? And so that's what I will move on to. So we wanted to bring people together, is the kind of easy sum up of all that. Why do this through a cocktail menu? What's the point? What's the point of making these bold statements or playfully questioning the drinking experience? What's the point to all that? Why can't we just come in and sit and have a drink? It really is to create experience. So going to a cocktail bar is a social occasion. Why not make it more social? Make it visually interesting as well as tastily interesting. Our bar and those alike are hubs. Our bar, like I said before, is full of people from around the world. People quite often land in Paris, come to our bar because they'll have heard of us, and then go, where do we go next? Which I now do in every city I go to. I have no idea where to get food. I know a couple of bars usually. I have no idea about the tourist sites or anything like this. So it's a hub. It's somewhere where people can come and learn about things and interact. And maybe if you're in Paris on your own for 2 nights, you meet a friend or something, and you make friends and visit Paris together. Instant, unique, accessible, creative experiences. Again, hard after a long weekend. So what I mean by this is you can go to a cocktail bar and you can have a drinking experience. You can have something you can take a photo of and put it on Instagram and go, look at me, I've taken this cool photo of a drink in a cocktail bar. It's a little bit harder, let's face it, to go to a Michelin star restaurant and do such, unless you're a millionaire. Certainly not every day. And people want this. You have to understand that people want to be able to take photos of your cocktail when you post it online. People want to show that they've been to your bar. And people want to show that they like nice things. And it being an accessible, creative experience means you're paying 13 euros for a cocktail and not 300 euros for a meal. And you're getting this access to creativity, talking to the bartender, understanding why they've made each drink, etc. And then insight to local culture, which I touched on earlier. And drinking is fun. Okay, so here is what we discovered. We took all these elements. We said, how can we summarize this? And we came across something called universal values. Downstairs, we're doing a pop-up in the main room. We have a copy of some of these menus, so you can come down and see. But the universal values is a study done by a guy called Shalom H. Schwartz, who basically visited 80 countries around the world and found that there's elements of life that apply to all of us, wherever or whoever we are. So what is a value? A value is a kind of something that one holds dear to themselves, kind of, an idea, your kind of ethos almost in a way. And a universal value is something that everyone holds dear to yourself. You. We all share certain values, says Shalom Schwartz. And so we thought, this is a cool concept. What are these values? What do they mean? And isn't that great? Because that means we're literally creating a menu for everybody. So these are the values: strength, stimulation, achievement, hedonism, benevolence, conformity, self-direction, tradition, universalism, security, and this is not a value, but we added it because we believe that a balance of all these things make up who you are. You have balance as well. Kind of your yin and yang, your zen. So, the main chunk, the process. How do you find a theory, an idea, a concept by a guy you've never met before who's written a thesis on values, on psychology, on human interaction, which I have no degree in apart from being a bartender? How do you make them into cocktails? We now know why, because it's interesting and exciting. But how do you take something as literally an idea and make them into cocktails? So we looked, again, at ourselves. These are a handsome lot. And we looked at kind of our backgrounds. And we realized that through all the people we are, through all these people, we have all these countries relating to them. So they may be from that place, they maybe have spent a long time in that place, their grandmother might be from that place. We realized that just between 8 people, there's a huge cultural kind of broadness anyway. So what we did is we paired people up. So here's Charlotte, who now works at Two Schmucks, go visit. Here's Charlotte, she's got experience and she's Spanish and she's English and she's got a lot of experience in Greece. Louis is French, but he's lived in Australia for years, in the United Kingdom. And so they have this kind of balance, and together they worked on conformity and achievement. So what we did is we paired people up, we paired everyone together. And they would have to work on 2 drinks together for 8 months. And they would have to get their own definition of the value and their definitions as a pair, which is where we kind of get a little bit of fun coming in. Because they're not going, okay, I'm going to have achievement, I'm going to go over here and make achievement, you go make conformity over there. Because every decision has to be made together, they are creating a bond, which, like brothers and sisters, goes like this. And we did it with everyone. So there's me and Robin, there's Emily and Ollie, and there's Calvin and Baiji, and there's Louis and Charlotte again. Everyone got paired up and did this. So here we go. So it took us 8 months, quite a few late nights, some minor fallouts, some fall-ins, winky face, and 3 moves to a new country. So people who were moving to Paris to come and work at Little Red Door. And so they were already changing quite a lot about their lives, so they already had quite a lot to think about. And here it is, the menu of universal values. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to kind of show you some of the drinks and run through how they relate together, how to create this theory into practice, into a cocktail. So this is the first page. It says, we asked ourselves, what do we all have in common? Here's a little taste of what we discovered. And this is a very short line that kind of gives you a little hint of what it is. And the idea is that if you want to go to a table and they're not interested in having a conceptual menu, they just understand very, very briefly. Or you can go and geek out about it with us. We can get into every kind of step of the way and everything like this. So you have a drink called Stimulation, which is made by Emily, who's currently setting up the bar. This is the second drink on the menu. So she looked at kind of Emily and Ollie, they looked at this kind of idea of stimulation. What is stimulation? It could be so many things. And they looked at these trigger words. So sensory overload, sudden bursts of energy, bright color, suspense, club culture, satisfaction, explosive flavor. And they went, okay, these are the things we want to try and create, and we want to think of a time in our lives that we've felt these. So they looked at club culture. Thought of times in Berlin. There is a club that alleyway annex is kind of based on. And this kind of memory of walking down in this alleyway. Oh, it's so big, I can actually walk down it. And opening this door, and you kind of having this just explosion of light and sound into this nightclub and this, euphoria inside. And so they use that as inspiration, so they use stimulating flavors. Here's the drink, and here is the ingredients. So, mezcal, powerful, we talked about it earlier. It's this big, big punchy flavor with light grassy notes coming through. Chlorophyll is a chemical. We find it and extract it from spinach. So we blend spinach and water, and it tastes like green bananas. It's incredible, and it has this amazing bright green color. Porcini mushrooms, salty, umami. They bring out this, make you salivate, stimulating your saliva. Fortified wine, herbal, zesty, interesting, and then of course citrus in there for that lovely punch of acid. Strength. This is something that I spent a long time working on. This one's very interesting because this is more of a memory-based one. This is a place that exists in Scotland. And I have memories of standing next to this dam with my father, looking up at the water coming down and just being overwhelmed by the strength of it. But also having this lovely sense of, oh, isn't this so whimsical? Having this lovely sense of family strength, of being with my father there and sharing this moment. And I had never thought much of that moment. It may not even exist. It may just be a photograph I saw once or something like this. But it reminded me of the strength of family values, the strength of family bond. And so you have kind of this lovely, powerful water coming over, this idea of family bond, of pressure, the pressure of water suddenly exploding and releasing this kind of minerality into the air. Vivid, strong memory, and channeling nature's power. It's all kind of things that resonate within my head. And everyone has this kind of feeling, looking back on a memory and feeling the kind of the strength of your family and when they're there for you. This is the cocktail. We're doing a little twist on this downstairs as well. And inside you have this. So what I wanted to do is highlight the air of this memory, the smell of this memory. You know, when you go on a holiday, maybe you buy a little aftershave or perfume in the airport. You wear it all your holiday. You come back home, you lose it, you forget it, and then you smell it, and you're reminded of that place. Or you walk past an ex-girlfriend that's wearing the same smell, you're reminded of that ex-girlfriend, And so I wanted to kind of have that, have this kind of aroma that I associate with that. And so we use gin, nice, light, floral, herbal. We use pine-infused whiskey. So this lovely kind of forest kind of air kind of feeling. Sorrel wine, we like the kind of minerality of sorrel. We like this kind of it's light acidity, and we use a very minerally wine. And sparkling birch water as well, which is, again, very mineral. So when you taste it, a nice thing about it is it's called strength, so people think it's a very strong drink. It's actually very, very light, and it's got this lovely kind of airiness about it. On to the next, conformity. Very difficult to summarize conformity because people actually see it as quite a negative thing, but conformity can be extremely positive. And so this is Louis and Charlotte's drink. They looked at cultures that were more open to conformity, such as kind of more Eastern places. And they kind of summarized that cultures where conformity was valued, it's kind of this like independence. Okay, you follow the road, you follow the steps, but then inside, we're all different. There's a really nice kind of idea rolling around. This is the drink. It's in 3 parts. We got these little cups made from a ceramicist around the corner, not here in Paris. And you have 3 different serves, and it kind of goes through like a meal. So you have your palate freshener. They all have gin, rice, and tea, because we're looking at that kind of Eastern bloc, and they're the most common ingredients in the common food, apart from gin, but we use gin because it's got Earl Grey tea in it. So the first one, the green one, is yuzushu, which is a liqueur made from yuzu and sake, jasmine tea, and gin. The second one is made with rooibos. It's a lot drier, a little bit of Amontillado, Saint-Germain elderflower, gin, and sake. And then the last one is made with chai, toasted black rice, and gin. And yeah, it's kind of, you start off with this lovely zesty palate freshener, go on to this kind of more dry main course, and then you have your lovely little digestif at the end. And the way we describe this on the menu is like this. And the reason we did this is because it immediately starts a conversation. People order it thinking, oh, maybe it's a martini or something like this. I don't really understand. I'm going to try it because it sounds interesting. And you come to the table with essentially three martini-strength drinks, and you explain it all down, and immediately they're kind of so blown away by what's going on in front of them. It's really, really nice. So it's kind of being very conformative with the way we describe the ingredients, and then being kind of wacky with what we do with it. Hedonism, awesome drink. So this is all about indulgence, melancholy, forbidden fruit, sex, drugs, rock and roll. And it's kind of this idea of like a build-up of something that you want so bad and then it's gone. And we thought, oh, that's kind of like a cocktail. We need to make a really, really delicious cocktail that hits every bit of the tongue. It's got a touch of spice. It's got this kind of richness. It's got a kind of earthiness. It's got this kind of chocolatiness. And we wanted it to be very Moorish, to want more. And so here it is. It's sexy, no? That's sexy. Yeah, take a photo. And then we used ingredients. This is how we describe the ingredients. The botanical wine is made up of ingredients such as avocado stones, chocolate, cardamom, and then you have rye whiskey. The rye whiskey we use is Lot 40. It's really nice. It's quite fruity. It's a Canadian rye. Green chili, which actually gives more of the flavor of green pepper and not too much spice, but it adds this kind of lovely kind of grassiness. And then flowers and apples. We use an apple eau de vie in there as well. And the idea of this is they're all ingredients that make you feel a bit sexy. Okay, benevolence, the idea of giving, of being benevolent to someone, of being helpful and helping out. And so Emily and Ollie looked at soup kitchens and, kind of helping the homeless and also this idea of comfort. When you're ill, when you're a kid, you have a nice soup. You guys are famous for your soup. I had one last night, and it made me feel comfortable. It made me feel relaxed, enjoyed. And so it's this kind of idea of feeling cozy and safe. So yeah, we looked at charity, warmth, feeling of togetherness, feeling of community that you get from a soup kitchen. It's always community helping the soup, helping the homeless, and comfort. And this is what the drink looks like. So you can see this kind of relativity to the soup. It's we're again doing a little twist on this downstairs. And the idea is it's using warming flavors, but it's still a nice kind of light, fresh cocktail. It's got a nice kind of thickness to it, which is kind of, it has resonance of soup. Next up, universalism. So myself and Robin looked at the idea of coming together. We looked at the most favored flavor in the world, which is vanilla. It was voted the world's favorite ice cream is vanilla. And so we looked at vanilla, and then we looked at the cooperative movement in cognac and wine houses. The idea of one wine house having too much a surplus of a certain grape, and then giving it or swapping it or selling it to another as a cooperative. So yeah, cooperative, common ground. We looked at the daiquiri, just this lovely, simple, very common, very good, fun drink, a snackery. Something we all love, and statistics. So this is the drink, and it's rum, the most commonly sold spirit in the world. An eau de vie, which is a grape spirit. It's basically an unaged cognac from Merlot. Vanilla, the most popular flavor in the world. And we have some nice Verjus, actually. But we describe it as grape because really, with the acids, it balances out and you get this lovely flavor of grape. I can't remember where we're at. And and so we got Laura Sheldon to do the designs. And we went back and forth. Each person would talk with Laura, the designer, and try and work out how they wanted to visualize each cocktail. And now we kind of move on to what we're going to do next, and I have to think about that, and you'll all know very soon. But in the meantime, thank you very much. I hope I haven't taken too much of your time, and we'll see you downstairs for a little drink. Cheers, guys. Ooh.
Once again, ladies and gentlemen, let's hear it for Rory Shepherd from the Little Red Door.